What's up, guys? In this video, we're gonna show you how to analyze a rental property. We're gonna go over some of the key things that you need to know, some things that you should not be overlooking, and ultimately, what number you need to buy something at and how much rent it needs to collect for it to make sense. So let's go right into it. First thing first, let's actually go over the sales price. So we need to know what this property is going to cost. So in my particular case, I'm buying a property for $130,000. It's a single family home. It's a 3-bedroom and 2 bath. And you need to know when you're buying rental properties what it's bringing in for rent. Now there's 2 things that you need to know. First, if it's already tenant occupied, then what are they currently paying? And then if it's below, then you need to figure out what's the market rent. So for my particular property, the current rent is actually $13.50 a month, right? Not bad. And I looked at the Zillow comps and I went on to different websites to figure out what the market rent would be, and it's actually $13.50. So this is really good for us. We don't have to go in and shuffle the tenant or even make bump any rent. So this is the number, okay? The next couple things you need to take into account are the expenses. Now, here are some of the expenses that I wrote down that you need to know. We need to know what the property tax is, right? For me, in this particular area, it's about $810 a year, right? The next thing you want to know is the insurance. So the insurance, this is pretty easy to find out. You need to call your insurance broker, Farmers, State Farm, whoever it may be, and give them the address, ask for a landlord policy, and they're gonna tell you how much it costs. And in this particular one, it is $72 a month. Okay? Next thing I wrote down, because it's a single family home, we don't cover water, we don't cover garbage, and we're not gonna cover the lawn and snow. The next big expense that you need to write down would be the property management. Okay? This is big because we don't want to manage these properties ourselves. We want to employ people because we want to scale. And you don't want to be picking up the phone calls and hearing all the toilets breaking and all that stuff. Hire a property manager. They charge 8%. Okay? 8% of the rent. The next thing I wrote down would be your vacancy, because the property will be vacant at time, okay? General rule of thumb, 5% vacancy, okay? Again, 5% of this is gonna be what your vacancy is gonna be. So you need to put some money aside. And the last thing I put is the maintenance. Look, real estate things break, and there's a lot of things that will break. So you got to factor in about 10% for maintenance. Okay? So, these are the key numbers you need to know to tell you and help you figure out whether or not this is going to be a deal or no deal situation. Okay. Another big thing that we need to take into account will be the mortgage, all right? That's gonna be a big expense. And the whole point of buying real estate to me is being able to leverage. Going to the bank and having them give us 60, 70% of the money we need to buy the property. So let me go over some real life scenarios right now, because this is what I'm currently using to buy real estate right now, okay? My lender right now is requiring me to do a 20-year term, which means that in 20 years, the loan will be paid off. They are asking for me to put down 30% down payment, and they're giving me an interest rate of 6.6%, which is phenomenal. Now, look, you can go with a 30-year term. You can go with 20% down. You can even go a little bit lower. But from what I've been seeing, they're gonna charge you anywhere from 7 to 7.5% interest rate. For my personal portfolio, I would much rather have the lower interest rate so that I can cash flow higher, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. With this being said, with this number and this actual price, let me go over the breakdown of what this money is going to cost us to borrow. At a $130,000 purchase price, 30% down, our down payment is $39,000. Right? Expensive, I know, but it's worth it, all right? Our loan amount is going to be right around $91,000, right? So we have to come up with $39,000. The bank will loan us the additional $91,000 to close on the property. And so with that being said, our monthly cost is going to be $683.84. Okay? This is important because this is going to be an expense. All of these are expenses. So now how do you figure out whether or not this is going to be a deal? You have to take all the expenses and minus what the actual income is. Okay, so now let's just do the math, all right? And I wrote this down. You got $1,350. I'm going to put a plus sign because that's money coming in. Then we have property management minus $108, right? You have property taxes, about $66 a month. Let's just be exact, right? We want people to know that we're exact. Insurance, round up. Let's go with about $100. I know I put 72 here, but I'm going to round up so that you guys can see whether or not this is actually going to be a good deal or not. All right? Vacancy reserves. Now, this is reserves because you got to put it aside. But if it doesn't go vacant, that's just more money in your pocket. But that comes out to $67.50. All right? Maintenance every single month is going to be $135. And then that brings our total operating expense at right around $477.17. Okay? That's if you add up all of this. All right. So now we have the income, we have the mortgage, and we have the month-to-month expenses. If you add up these two numbers, you're going to get $1,161.01. Okay? So this is your total monthly expense. All right, so you take $1,350, which is our income, minus $1,161.01. It's gonna leave you with an income of $188.99 a month. Okay? Okay, so now that we have this will determine whether or not this is a good deal or not. So we have to figure out what is our annualized return on investment. And now our investment really is not the $130,000, but the $39,000 that we had to put out. So if you take this number and you multiply that by 12, because there are 12 months in the year, you're gonna get roughly $2,267.88. Okay? Now, you take this number and you divide it by 39,000, you're gonna get a return of 5.8. Let's go put it right here, okay guys? 5.82%. Now, you ask yourself, how do I know if that number is a good number or not? Now, truthfully speaking, you can put this money, the $39,000, into a CD account. Don't have to worry about any headaches, don't have to worry about any vacancies or anything like that. And generally speaking, the banks will probably give you 4.5%, right? Maybe even more, but you have to look at that and say, look, is 5.82% worth all the headaches? Or I can just put it into a CD account and make a little bit less, but be really stress-free. And I'm gonna agree with you. Personally speaking, I will not do this deal. It's a lot of money. My $39,000 is only gonna make 5.82%. And realistically, you know, it's a lot of risk, right? I have to still work. People say real estate is passive. It's not. You still have to manage the property manager. And sometimes they mess up and they mess up on your dime. So that's something that most people won't tell you. So, I mean, if I'm gonna do this deal, guys, I need this thing closer to about 9 to 10%. And in order for me to get that 9 or 10%, I have to either increase the monthly rent, which is gonna be very hard to do because as much as you think you can control rent, you cannot. The market dictates the market rent, okay? The only thing that I can control is this price. Am I a good negotiator? Can I beat up the seller and get them to accept lower? So let's figure out what price this has to be for me to be able to make my 9 or 10% return. In order for me to get my 9% return, I need to beat up the seller and get this property for $115,000. That way, with this money, my down payment goes down, and therefore, this will stay the same, okay? Because this doesn't really change so much. The mortgage will get a little bit cheaper, but really what happens is the money that I put out goes down significantly, and therefore it will raise my return up to closer to about 9.5% or so. So I hope you guys like the breakdown. Now you're probably wondering, man, you must be really good at math to do all of this. And the truth is, guys, yes, could I do this myself? Absolutely. But for you and you guys only, I'm gonna share with you guys an Excel that I use down below. Full transparency, I didn't create it, okay? I bought it, and now I'm gonna share it with you guys because it allows you to just plug and play, and it will generate all of these numbers. You just have to obviously put in these, okay? You still have to put in the purchase price, you have to put in the rent, you have to then put in the property tax for the jurisdiction wherever the property is at, and then it will calculate this, it will calculate this, and it will calculate all of this so that you can just and get all the answers. Now, the next thing that I'm probably gonna get is people asking me, where are you finding properties for $115,000 and bringing in $1,350 a month? Now, I have another video for you guys. This is not in California, where I currently reside, because there's no way in heck any of this would work in California. It's just way too expensive here. I'm buying out of state, Alabama, right? These are, where you can find 3 bedrooms, 2 baths from anywhere from $80,000 to about $130,000. The sweet spot for me are usually around the $115,000. It's not too ghetto. The properties are actually pretty decent. They're not run down. They look good. Some of them are even remodeled, believe it or not. Now, they're not like California remodel, but they're pretty good, nice enough. So if you want to learn more about that, I have a video here that you can check out. And with that being said, guys, I hope I gave you guys some value. Peace out.